excited about that.
I totally forgot we were on the radio.
You did?
I was, my daughter called me about her taxes, and I went into a whole conversation.
And you're like, oh shoot, I'm working.
I didn't even, I forgot to hit Facebook Live. So we're just on Facebook right now.
All right, hello everybody. We're back and waiting for Wadada. He'll sign on in a few minutes. He's not late. He's fine. He's got a couple of minutes before he signs on, so that we can continue our conversation. So yeah, so I heard the music go off, Harry. So I just clicked on and just was like, let me just hang out. If people are listening, they'll hear me or see me anyway. So.
Oh, thank God you were paying attention. And I'm frozen.
Are you? Yes, you are. I didn't even realize you were frozen. I just thought you were just like doing your thing, but no, you are frozen. But I hear you, so
yeah, I'm
yeah.
voguing. I'm voguing right now.
Are you single-handedly trying to bring that back? Whoa, Madonna. Oh, now you just jumped out. You're gonna jump back on. So yeah. Yeah. It's Tuesday, and this week is gonna go by quickly. I need a nap now, Harry. Oh, there he is. He's coming in now. So do you want to click him on now?
Yep.
Okay. Welcoming legendary composer and trumpeter Wadada Leo Smith. He is the 2021 USA Fellow, and he is back to continue our conversation from yesterday. Good morning. Unmute yourself. You have to hit your unmute on your microphone. There you go.
Yeah.
How are
Good
you?
morning.
Thank you.
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad that you're able to have time for me again this morning.
Well, time is cool, you know.
Sound like a true musician. Are you enjoying the weather? Are you enjoying the snow now?
Yeah. Snow is good also. Yeah.
Okay.
Because listen, the earth needs to have moisture as well, you know. And all these lakes and creeks, they need new water.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna take all that and be inspired. So yesterday you told me you knew at 12 years old about inspiration.
Yeah. And I experienced it at that time. I wrote my first composition when I was 12.
So you knew you were going to be a musician your whole life?
Well, I knew I was going to be a composer, performer, and had some kind of a slight inkling that I would know how to think.
Really?
Yeah.
And so what did your parents think of that? Were they cool with your path, or did they support that path?
Yeah, they were cool with it because, you know, when a kid is 12 or 13 years old and you go out and you start making music, you bring another set of income into the house. And, you know, you gain experience of not only how to, the socialization that's important, but you understand how economy works, you know, that you do something, and for that something, it has value on it based off of what you did, how long you did it, you know. Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, growing up is growing up is the best lesson, the best learning system. Schools are the best place to avoid learning. You know, all of them.
I think I heard a little bit of that. Yeah.
All of them, because essentially, if the school wasn't part of the GDP, and if the school wasn't part of the propaganda network of the government, then it would be much easier to educate a child. You know, right now everybody's saying, let's get the kids back in school because we got to get this economy open. Well, they're not thinking about the kids; they're thinking about the economy.
Yeah.
Okay, and they don't even know what the economy is.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
it's
government.
hard for people. Yeah. People have to go back to work, and they can't go back to work and leave children at home or unattended. So.
No, they can't. But the point is that why would you throw a child into the fire?
Yeah, that's a good
It
point.
has to be safe, and the only thing that makes it safe is that they put enough money into those school systems to do it. And as you know, inequality exists from top to bottom and straight across on everything. So what's going to happen to those Black kids that go into those schools that already don't even have computers? I mean, it's a crime.
Yes. So did you have teachers along the way who fed your artistic quest?
Yeah, I had, but most specifically the music teachers I had two fundamentally, let's say, dedicated teachers. One was Earl Jones. He was the first one, and his specialty was actually mathematics. In fact, the last time I met him, which was 3 or 4 years ago, I believe he was 92.
Wow.
And after he left my school, he went on to get his PhD in mathematics because he was a really math guy. And he still lives in Mississippi. I visited him 2 or 3 years ago. But the real music teacher who was really gifted and also was a trumpeter, his name was Henderson Howard. And he prepared me probably more than anybody for how you make art through music.
And so what was about the trumpet? Like, was the trumpet your first instrument of choice, or do you play like,
No,
are you one of these
no.
geniuses that can play 50 million different things?
Well, I can play more than one instrument. That's not even a problem for almost anybody. That's nothing really when you look at it. But I didn't select the trumpet. The trumpet was selected for me by Earl Jones. Like most kids, everybody is actually impressed with drumming. So most kids in schools, the first instrument they want to own or have is a drum. And I was no different than those kids. But eventually, you know, drums run out and they give you whatever is left. And I got the mellophone, which is something that I didn't really want. And eventually my teacher realized that, he switched me with another person to the trumpet. He just simply said, go to that room and tell us I got to come over here. You know.
And that's how it began.
Yeah. So it was easy to, once I found the trumpet, I felt, you know, some kind of a energetic connection with it. And it happened to be true.
Wow. And so you stayed with it. And so now you're one of these people that own several trumpets, like over the years. And do you name them?
I give away trumpets when I stop using them.
Really? Like
Yeah.
to
Well, I gave
artists,
one.
or?
No, I give it to whoever wants it. One of my spiritual teachers' son wanted to play trumpet, so I gave it to him. And another friend of mine who wanted it, he didn't play trumpet, and I gave it to him. You see, you only need one trumpet. You don't need 5 trumpets, you know.
Really? Because I see music that have, 5 guitars, 10 guitars.
I know a guy that has 20 guitars.
You know, but you can only play one at a time.
You can only play one. You only need one.
Okay. So tell me, the first piece of music that you heard, what was it? Do you recall that first piece of music that you heard that really spoke to you, that went all through you and just, changed you?
No, I didn't have that type of, let's say, epiphany. It was another way around. I've kind of approached music from, let's say, when I was 12 and I started to play the trumpet. It was near the end of the year, like September, October, probably November. I got the trumpet, October, November, and I started playing for people live that December. Okay, and several things happened along the way between 12 and 13 that gave me clear confidence that music was my field. One of them was that a salesman came to my school to sell trumpets. Okay, and he wanted to demonstrate to me and my teacher, which at that time was Earl Jones, what the trumpet could do. And then he made the mistake of asking me to show him what I could do. And I showed him what he did and also what I could do. That wasn't hard to do because, you know, salesmen are not really trumpet players, they're salesmen, you know. And I had already started making music in front of people where people actually play a critical role in deciding whether it's good or bad. You see, so already he was at a disadvantage because you know, he learned how to make something on the trumpet that would demonstrate that the trumpet was an instrument, but I could demonstrate that the trumpet was an instrument that artists use. You see.
Wow.
So nothing bangs me in the head and say, wow, this is great. I want to deal with music. Okay. I could point to some level of influence that probably was subliminal or subconscious. And it has to do with my stepfather, who was also a musician, composer, performer. He played the guitar and sang. And I've often was allowed to sit on Sundays in the living room with them while him and some of his buddies played the guitar and socialized and entertained themselves. That could be one of the moments as well, because at that time I wasn't 12, so I had not touched the trumpet yet.
Wow.
But you know, growing up in Mississippi, music is not absent from your everyday life. Mm-hmm. It's part of the tradition.
Did you grow up in the church?
I grew up attending church, yes. Just like, you know, you have to do it, otherwise you're out of the house or something. You know, but yeah, I you know, you hear music in church. You have these traveling quartets that come about, these traveling choirs that visit churches and stuff. So the music experience is always there. They had these cakewalks that would be like community wise. You could see music and hear music and stuff like that. So it wasn't something that was outside of the realm of our environment. You know.
So, when did you know that being a musician was how you were going to make your living? Because there's one thing to love music and to play music. It's a whole other thing to sort of make it how you make a living, how you take care of yourself and support things, and you know.
Yeah, people say that. They don't know what kind of problem they make when they say that. But listen to this. Listen to this. The Almighty made birds, elephants, giraffes, all kinds of creatures on earth. We encounter them all the time. Not a single one of them carry a refrigerator with them. Not a single one carry a key that opens a door. This whole idea of making a living is one of the biggest problems of humanity. The moment you begin to worry about and try to think about making a living, you lose your place in creation. And the Almighty made it that way. I didn't make it that way. Okay. So what one should do is find out what they have been intended on this planet to do and go about doing it. I have not for a single day in my life worried about eating, housing, transportation, support for my family. None of those things. Never worried about them. Never even questioned if I could do this or not. And it's a fact that if, in fact, creatures can live outside and don't have refrigerators and houses to unlock and go into, don't have bank accounts, don't have this and that. Why on earth does a human worry so much about surviving? It's the commercialization of our thought that makes us like that. So I don't think about issues like that. And believe me, I've had all kinds of teaching jobs over the years, but they all came to me. They all dropped in my hat. And they dropped in my hat because I was living the way in which I should be. I was not questioning this thing about environment and living.
Mm-hmm.
And my students ask me the same question almost every single week of the 20-some years I taught. They would all come to my office and say, well, you know, blah, 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 blah. And it went either one way. The guy would say, well, you know, I like making music, but how am I going to make a living? Another person would come in and say, well, my father is very wealthy. He invented this. They want me to go into business. So what do you think I should do? You know, things like that. And of course, if a person asks me about whether they should take their father's business and run, I tell them to take the business and run.
And why? Why?
Well, because if you got to ask me what you should do, you don't know what you should do.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, but you understand why they're asking you, because
they asking me because their mom and dad asked them. You say, that's why they asking me. And I don't think that making a living is such a big deal.
wow, that is a very different kind of concept. That's a very different concept. To live that way, particularly in this day and age where so much of who we are is tied to what we do, you know. And you've always felt this way?
I've always felt this way.
And so what does your family and friends make of that?
Well, there's nothing they can do about it. Look, let me tell you something. There's a Roman philosopher by the name of Marcus Aurelius.
Yes.
He wrote a very famous book called Meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I bought that book when I was 12 years old. Now, you know why I bought it?
Why?
I bought it because it looked good. It was a hardcover. In the center, it had a crescent. It had some little red something inside of it. And it looked fantastic. I had never, ever heard of Marcus Aurelius. Didn't think about who the author was. The book looked beautiful to me. And I bought it. Okay. Inside that book is a pretty Christian spirituality about how to function amongst human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And he narrates his family and the kind of things that they taught him and the kind of things that he saw and the kind of things that he taught. And it's a very old book. He was one of the Roman emperors at the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But he was considered a failure because he wasn't into military conquer and all those kinds of things. He was into developing human, what did Michael Jackson say? Human nature. He was more important to developing human nature as opposed to developing human conflict and wealth and all the trinkets that go along with it that actually paralyze humanity.
Mm. Mm. So when you decided to create an album or a body of work, what is your process? Does something come to you? Do you wake up with an idea, or does someone bring you an idea and said, you know, I'd like you to work on this, or do you wake up and say, you know what, today I'm going to work on this Emmett Till piece, or I'm going to work on, you know, this piece of orchestral music, or I'm going to work on, like, how do you decide what you'll work on and spend your time on?
Well, I wake from inspiration. Whatever I'm inspired to do, I've learned that you start immediately on it. So I got probably in this house right downstairs there. I got a pile of notebooks. Probably there's 20 down there. In this room right here, which is my studio, I probably got 25 or 40 books, notebooks in there. I don't use notebooks now because the modern telephone has these notes in it, so I use notes. But whatever inspiration comes to me, I partake of it, and eventually I work on it. And it's the same thing with live performance. When I play my instrument, I play it from what I'm being inspired to play. I don't play it from what I've learned or what I've thought about or what I've figured out. I allow the impulse of inspiration to flow through me. Mm-hmm. And over the years, I've researched this phenomena. I know how it works. I don't have to sit around and let's say, dance to try to make inspiration come to me. It's a point that has been mapped by me, and I can open it up just like I open my door, or just like I turn on a water faucet. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I say this not as a manner of boasting. I'm talking about the way in which I work. I work from inspiration. Mm-hmm. I've gone back to find out what that's about. I started looking into the Quran because I'm Muslim, and I found in there. Yeah, I've been Muslim for a long time. I found out that there are tons of examples about inspiration, and that all of them refer to whatever that populates the planet. This phone in my hand, and that we are both using at the moment, or computer, that comes from an inspiration. The piano comes from an inspiration. Every single thing we see in creation comes from someone being inspired, you see. Mm-hmm. And all of the spiritual teachings, that's how they're transmitted. The prophets received their message through inspiration.
This is very true.
Yeah.
This is very true.
And those inspirations are tabulated in certain kinds of ways and textualized by us as human beings until they become principles which we live by. Mm-hmm. You see? So when I'm inspired, if I'm in a position to deliver it right away, like if I'm playing my trumpet or I'm in a live performance, I do it. If I'm not, let's say that I'm riding on a plane or a train or something, I pick a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be a music piece of paper. It could be an envelope, could be a book, and I jot down what I feel. Okay. And eventually I'll get to it. Yeah. So every single thing comes to me through inspiration. And once the inspiration is there, then I have to find out how to put my signature inside the piece. Oh. Okay. And that signature will come from something that's unique and that basically only I know. And the only way that it's revealed if I tell somebody. Okay. So let's take the Emmett Till. No, let's don't take the Emmett. Well, let's take the Emmett Till piece. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's take the Emmett Till piece. Emmett Till, the image we have of him is him with that white, beautiful hat on.
Yes.
And that beautiful face. Mm-hmm. Okay. I've seen it over the years, but when I started meditating on that, and I don't mean sitting down just meditating, but just reflecting, contemplating Emmett Till, because I remember the day he was killed. You see, I remember the town he was killed, I believe 26 miles from where I lived. Okay. So when I'm reflecting on that, I get a psychological buzz as to what that piece is going to be and what the signature is going to be. Okay. And in Emmett Till is the image of that really beautiful child face, and that set with that white head on top of his crown, and the fact of how he was killed. Those are the two things that came to me through my psychological reflection. And so when I wrote the piece, when I composed it, my goal was to say something about life and death, and to use it in the context in which I've studied or understand. Where life is, death is not.
Mm-hmm.
Where death is, life is not.
Mm-hmm.
They don't never share the same moment. That's why they call it transition. Okay. Now, in my piece, after the ensemble, the quartet plays through the major theme and create a little bit and move into the chamber ensemble, the cello takes up the theme. And the cello moves from where it moves all the way up to a very high note. It's a C sharp. It's a little bit above it's a lot above the ordinary beautiful sounding range of a cello, but a good cello can make it sound good up there. That whole across into the next section. Okay. The next section is the section in which Emmett Till transitioned from his body. Okay. And that section moved from there to the last section, which is the killing. And the killing takes place after the transition. Okay. And after the transition, there's a kind of a coda or small section that recapitulates the feeling of that piece. And then it ends on this beautiful chord. Not a harmonious chord, an ominous chord. Because that ominous chord is for us on earth here.
And you want us to do what with that ominous chord? What do you want us to know or understand?
That ominous chord tells us that unless we have liberty, freedom, and justice, these are the practice that we will experience. That is the killing of our kids and our people, et cetera. And it's still going on.
Yes. Yes. So in these moments of this very profound music, do you feel like there's more of that kind of music in you to take? I mean, Emmett Till, you could do Tamir Rice, you could do George. There's so many.
Well,
we had so many people come after Emmett Till, right?
Yeah, I do. Well, I used Emmett Till because Emmett Till actually is what sparked the civil rights movement. A lot of people don't know that, but that's the truth. Okay, that's when it became too much. Okay, just like George Floyd. There've been a lot of killing of people around before, but his public killing with the guy with his hands in his pocket and his knees on his neck broke the wheel again. Mm-hmm. And that's what reverberates now. Okay. But you know, how can I say it? Nothing that's worth living for is easy to do. Okay. And we will have these struggles until we say no. And I personally think the only way to say no is to really mean it and stop. Mm-hmm. Okay. No means that you don't vote for Democrats, you don't vote for Republicans, you don't vote for independents. You vote for what Fannie Lou Hamer and that other brother of, can't think of his name right now. It'll come to me. But you vote for you make new parties, mm-hmm. new Democratic parties. And I suggest the only way that liberty and justice can occur is if you have 50 different parties in every single state, you say. and let the Democrats and the Republicans and independents run against that. Because when you got a two-party system, the independents and the Tea Parties either vote with one or the other, and both of them are a single spectrum. That is a right spectrum and a left spectrum. And none of them have ever played fair with us.
So in your lifetime, Wadada, this is a broad spectrum. I mean, you were a child at the same time as Emmett Till, and you've seen the world. You've been around the world. You've seen the world, and here we are in 2021, and we're still seeing some of the same kinds of things. Like what do you make of that? Like, what do you think about that musically? What do you think about that intellectually?
Well, musically, I've during this pandemic, I've finished string quartet number 13, 14, and 15. And guess what? Those three string quartets coalign with the 13, 14, and 15 amendments. And those amendments are about liberty and justice, voters' rights, and all kinds of privileges. And they were enacted because of African Americans' agitation, those principles. So, but those are not the main focus of those three string quartets. The main focus is number 13 is Billie Holiday is in there. Fred Hampton is in there. Who else is in there? Basically, I selected individuals that made the 13 and 14 and 15 amendment become alive by their action, by their social action. John Lewis is in there, for example. Fannie Lou Hammond, the Mississippi Democratic Freedom Party, and the Black Panthers Party. You see, those are two parties that should have kept growing and developing and should have proliferated all over the country. You see, they were destroyed by, of course, the legal systems here and the federal system. They were destroyed, but they should be rebuilt. You see, because you can't. I don't believe that it's possible in this two-party system.
And so what was it like, Wadada, to go around the world and to see and experience other places and other people and other cultures?
Well, it's it makes you wonder. I mean, I've been to Mecca. I performed Hajj in Mecca. I saw probably in Mecca the widest variety of people in one place. During the time I was there was, I believe, 2.5 million people there. Okay. I saw things, people, their interaction in relationship to each other and how they dealt with each other. Some was magnificently beautiful. Some was appallingly horrible. Okay. I'll give you an example of a magnificently beautiful one. I'm in the main mosque in Mecca, okay, and it's prayer time. And I'm tracking down the line, trying to find a spot to get in, okay. Nobody lets me in. I pass an African guy, I don't know where he was from, but he used his index finger. It's just the index, right? He used his index finger. And when I got close to him, he tapped me on the ankle. And I stopped and looked. And he moved over just enough for me to slip in. Okay. Now, what did that tell me? That told me something that an African is an African anywhere they exist on the planet, no matter what the political system or spiritual system or whatever, an African is an African. Okay. that was to me, that's an uplifting moment. Okay. Another good one, a good moment that happened in Mecca. I met these brothers from Nigeria, I believe they were from. Okay, they were there doing work. They wasn't there performing Hajj. They were there doing work. Okay, but during the Eid celebration, which comes after the end of the Hajj, a Jordanian guy who kind of took me under his wing because he was big and huge, had discovered them, and he introduced me to them. And so he and I celebrated our Hajj, not with the people that we came, but with them. And they prepared the food, and we ate it right there as they were preparing it. It was magnificent, you know.
Wow, that's a good story.
Yeah.
That's a good story. So, so we have like a few minutes left before I have to let you go yet again. Any thoughts? Would you say that your music will be your memoirs, or will you formally sit down and write your memoirs?
Well, I've had a number of people. Well, a couple. There's a fellow in Italy that's doing a kind of a talk biography. Okay, there's another fellow up in Vermont that's doing a kind of a biography from a spiritual point of view, and then there's another fellow. His name is Matt Summers. We just started like at the end of January to construct a biography. And I have been working personally on a biography that's written in poetic language, not in the long form and stuff like that. And I'm up to where I introduce my parents and grandparents and sisters and brothers. Okay, so there's work already initiated towards that.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So
I look forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
Well, let me say congratulations on your prestigious honor. I hope you enjoy this award very much as a 2021 USA Fellow.
Yes.
I hope you enjoy it. You deserve all the accolades, all the roses, and I'm so glad that you're in New Haven.
I am too, and believe me, my grandkids and daughters are also glad. You know,
and I can't wait till the pandemic is over so I can come to a concert. I'm looking forward to coming to a concert.
Right. Yes, in fact, whenever it's over, I'm going to perform right there at the Firehouse in New Haven. Yeah,
I love that place. That's a great
yeah.
space. That's a good space.
So thank you so much, and please have a beautiful day.
You too, sir.
I have truly enjoyed talking to you. And
I've enjoyed you.
I'm open for conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming back today. Enjoy the snow day, and I look forward to see what your inspiration yields after all this is over.
Yes, success.
Yes, thank you so much. Alaikum salam. All right, Harry, it's time for us to go. I will see y'all tomorrow with Patty Russo and Ron Thomas from the Yale Campaign School and CCM.
Hi, this is Babz Rawls Ivy from New Haven, Connecticut, and you're listening to WNHHLP 103.5 FM, streaming live at newhavenindependent.org.